Welcome to the e-commerce growth show, brought to you by Segmentify, the fast, lean learning machine, the fastest learning, most revenue-generating personalization platform for e-commerce.
Welcome to another episode of the e-commerce growth show. Well, I'm actually, it's a bit of a shame this isn't a webinar because I was very excited this morning and got my Findlay Hats dark limited edition dad hat through the post, which I don't know if you remember from a previous podcast with Jimmy Hickey, who runs that business. So I'm super chuffed. It's a pretty cool. The only slight issue I've got is my head's about the size of a pea, so it doesn't really fit that well. But hopefully I'll shape it up and then probably put it slightly higher on my head. But I'm chuffed anyway that I got my hat, and I've got to say a big thank you to Jimmy. Anyway, this show, as you know, is all about helping the e-commerce community grow. And I've got a special guest today called Sinem Yazıcı. And Sinem is a partnerships lead at a company called byrd, which is an e-commerce fulfillment software platform, mainly serving German and Austrian clients with fulfillment operations globally, and also obviously in the UK. And I think more recently have been expanding their operation in that territory with fulfillment centers now there also. I actually met Sinem, first of all, when I was working in the same office building as her. We work in Mansion House when I was at Segmentify there. And so that's where I came to meet her. And she was at a company called Shopee, which interestingly, they do those, well, in a nutshell, that kind of virtual store thing that we were talking about in a previous podcast, I think with, I think it was Sam from Sao Paulo, with that footwear brand that did so well in Brazil. So it's very interesting. Shopee does that software. So it's kind of funny how these sort of threads appear during the podcasts. But anyway, before Shopee, Sinem was at Microsoft for over 7 years. So clearly built up a lot of expertise in the corporate world there. And now she's based in Hamburg. And I think byrd are based in Berlin. So let's hear all about this. Hey, Sinem.
Hey, Phil.
How you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you? Nice to be in the podcast.
Absolutely, yeah. It's great to speak to you again.
You too.
So yeah, absolutely. So obviously we met in London. That was great. We spent some great times together. What took you back to Germany?
Yeah, it's a good question. Actually, I moved to Germany just before the lockdown, so in sort of January, February area. I moved back here. My background and my education has been in German schools. I'm originally from Istanbul and have studied German and have been living in London for some time. But then with this opportunity, and also from a personal perspective, it kind of had a good flow, and I took the opportunity with byrd. I came up here, and it's sort of like felt right. I was back at the time. I was thinking that I would travel back and forth to London, and with the lockdown, it wasn't possible in the last couple of months. But looking forward to, with our expansion, basically looking forward to traveling as well. So we will have another chance to meet face to face, hopefully.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, we're doing our curry nights now, as you know. So when hopefully when the lockdown relaxes a bit more, we get a curry night in London, and you've got to come.
Oh yeah, that will be great. I remember the last time.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, cool. Well, thanks for that. So, I mean, just talking about the overarching theme for today is going to be about e-commerce and fulfillment, clearly. But it's going to be great to hear your take on it, particularly as you're based in Germany now. And obviously, we all know how well Germany really has handled the whole COVID situation. But yeah, it would be great to hear, maybe to begin with, any trends that you've seen over this past few months.
Yeah, happily. So I think it's amazing change both for Germany and globally. I think we have seen a huge trend of rise of marketplaces, especially in growth in e-commerce marketplaces and platforms, and that give huge opportunities for both domestic and international sales for larger and smaller brands. And I think the like overall predicted revenue is increasing year by year, and I think that's an amazing trend. And also, again, globally, I think since the e-commerce systems are like highly integrated with the customer expectations, and I think the data has been a huge trend as well. We've seen like expectations increasing around delivery options and experiences, the interchange of data and connectivity has increased exponentially between many players such as marketplaces, payment providers, fulfillment providers, couriers, and this has like and will only require more real-time data ever than before. And I think that's how the companies will meaningfully like make sense of data meaningfully and drive their success. And I think one other like interesting topic is that fulfilling that huge demand together coming with the rise of marketplaces and using that data meaningfully, it will require or create an opportunity for new technologies. And that's very exciting because like topics like automation or robotics will basically enable quicker deliveries and like these applications and or these type of technologies in the supply chain will increase to help companies enhance those synergies and improve their productivity. And like what I have seen in Germany lately is that it has adopted quite well in the last couple of months. There has been more like on increase in contactless payments, for example. It's just very a simple example, but you can see the how digitally society can change even in a short period of time. So it's quite interesting to observe these days, actually.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm interested about data. I mean, it's coming up a lot now. Obviously, in the world of personalization, I understand why data is so important. In terms of personalization, why is data so important for fulfillment? I mean, just at top level. I mean, for me, even why is data so important when it comes to fulfillment?
I think it's all about sort of real-time tracking the data. It automates the whole process of fulfillment, and it starts right where customer has placed an order in an online shop, and the order data is automatically transferred to the warehouses, and that's how like processing starts. And having that data, real-time data, basically for like customers, it's also important from the KPI perspective. And I think it's driving a huge success for e-commerce companies because they have the advantage of the data being used.
Sure. No, it makes sense. I completely understand. It's going to be the same as for something like Segmentify. It's just me understanding what that looks like in your world. But yeah, completely makes sense. So, I mean, in terms of the overall topic of fulfillment, why would you say it's even more relevant than ever now?
Yeah, I think the COVID-19 or Corona situation had made a huge emphasis on fulfillment and deliveries. Logistics, like one of the crucial factors of e-commerce, as we see, for example, in Amazon or Zalando is a huge one in Germany. So delivery options are a decisive factor for the customers and in their purchase decisions. So like 50% of the online shoppers have already interrupted their purchase process because there was no satisfactory delivery options in the warehouses, according to the recent studies. So it is basically about customer satisfaction, to have the product as convenient as possible and have the option of fast shipping. So costs in logistics are also an important factor, and like we always like suggests our customers are like online merchants to offer the free shipping, and it's a great conversion driver for
Yeah.
for the end user to
Mm.
actually buy something.
Mhm.
So again, another survey that has been done was like
Mm.
basically implicating that 54% of consumers
Yeah.
state that they have canceled their purchase due to
Yeah.
the shipping costs. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um, it's a huge take on the end
Mm.
users to have a
Yeah.
free shipping option or
Yeah.
fast shipping option with
Yeah.
like Amazon
Yeah.
Prime, and the
Yeah.
fulfillment services there. It's going to even more
Yeah.
emphasize.
Yeah. Oh, completely. I mean, obviously there was this big groundbreaking shift on the eBay Amazon sort of front, wasn't there? Where the whole idea of the free delivery just opened up the floodgates, and then they've obviously taken that to another level with Prime and stuff. I mean, in terms of, I'm interested in what you said earlier about the delivery options, right? So I understand and completely understand the free shipping thing. I'm definitely in that category. If I can get away with free shipping and I'm not just getting that kind of almost masked into the buy price, if you know what I mean, then
Mhm.
I'm much happier bunny than if I've got to start paying £5 or £6 on top of an already reasonable priced item. Suddenly for me then becomes too expensive,
Yeah.
particularly if I'm dealing with a direct to brand. Um, but in terms of delivery options, what sort of things are you seeing that are the barriers there that people aren't doing that they might need to be doing, that's stopping a purchase in that realm?
So one of them is like express shipping, fast shipping. Like Amazon Prime is a separate product by itself, and I think
Yeah.
that's also like something that any shop can actually afford, and basically
Yeah.
help the clients to have the option
Yeah.
to have
Yeah.
a express shipping option. And
Yeah.
I think there's like different topics around that, like insurance and so on. But it's definitely interesting to have that options, or
Yeah.
have that capability as a
Mhm.
e-commerce merchant to provide to end users.
Yeah. No, sure. It's interesting, isn't it? But I mean, saying 50% of online shoppers, um, because of that, must mean that quite a few brands aren't doing it, I assume, right? I mean, that's not a small number, is it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a huge window of
Yeah.
opportunity there for e-commerce shops to
Mm.
adopt.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So moving on to your role, then obviously it's close to my heart. Partnerships. We know how important they are.
Yeah.
So why don't you sort of share with our listeners, because we know how important it is to build the right ecosystem of partnerships. It's not all about Bird; it's about the solution to the clients, right? To the customers, the brands that are listening right now. So in your role now at Bird, what do you think you're doing? What's your strategy and your vision for building the very best kind of ecosystem for providing e-commerce brands with the best forward-thinking solutions and services that are going to take their fulfillment to the next level?
Yeah, definitely. I think you understand it quite well, coming from the same background.
Yeah.
We believe that the best way to lift yourself up is to lift someone else too. So we believe
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
creating an ecosystem
Mhm.
of e-commerce shop systems, agencies, technology companies, and other startups
Yeah.
helps us better to innovate and succeed. So
Mhm.
we believe that like doing that co-jointly with many of the leading e-commerce technology providers or marketplace integrators, system integrators,
Mhm.
warehouse and inventory systems, we help e-commerce retailers to give customers
Mhm.
an outstanding customer service, on-time delivery for every online purchase that is made. So they're basically doing a seamless integration with shop systems and marketplaces,
Yeah.
integrating with other tech companies like that help grow
Yeah.
e-commerce merchants,
Mhm.
is our goal. So we want to grow together with our customers, grow
Mhm.
international together. So what's important to us is
Mhm.
to nourish the ecosystem and bring value to our customers, share our values and principles, and
Mhm.
with the partnerships, we are creating synergies that's about maximizing profit and also helping grow. It's just not about the profit side, but it's also about improving the brand reputation, strengthening the position within the industry, within the countries that we're entering. So I think also with the proper integration to shop systems that allows we allow them, the retailers, to outsource their entire business in just a couple of steps so that they can really focus what's important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in terms of that ecosystem, is it, and obviously I haven't really asked you about what kind of brands that you typically work with, but I mean, in terms of technology partnerships, let's say, do you find that for Byrd, it's more about a bespoke integration with a number of systems that has to be built over API from scratch, or is this much more app cartridge based where you've already got integration with loads of different order management systems and e-commerce platforms or whatever it is that you would need to integrate with? How does that look like in terms of a top level solution for a given brand? And maybe what do those brands look like? Are they enterprise? Are they anyone? Are they mid-tier, you know?
So I would say we tackle mid-tier customers, and we integrate with shop systems like Shopify, Magento, WooCommerce, Shopware, and Plenty Markets. So we have integrations with those shop systems, and we basically tackle like mid-sized customers that exactly what you said, that want to have more bespoke experience for their end users. And in that sense, we have sort of a very transparent like pricing, and also transparent customer dashboard. So that helps basically customers to scale as much as they see fit for themselves.
Okay, that makes sense. And in terms of like the order management side in particular, you mentioned Plenty Markets, which I think is more of an aggregated order management system, right? It brings in orders from all the different channels, if I remember rightly. So in terms of companies like, I don't know, Brightpearl, Channel Advisor, Vico, these kind of guys that some of the brands in the UK might be using, do you already integrate with those, or would that be part of a wider solution that would integrate with those guys?
We take it as step by step. So we also have some ERP systems, or like more providers like Brightpearl integrated in our system. And we have customers using those solutions. For those cases, we take it per customer and per case, and basically make sure that we cover the customer needs no matter which system they're using.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all down to the real nitty gritty of the needs of the customer. Make sure there's a fit with what you do, and then build a solution around that.
Yeah,
effectively.
Correct.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, that's great. Cool. So moving on to some of the outcomes that obviously we both know are so critical for brands to make sure they're getting the value out of anything they're doing. What does that look like in the world of fulfillment? Because obviously I can talk about conversion, average order value, that kind of stuff, obviously, and page dwell time or something. So in the world of fulfillment, what do you have to measure for your customers? How do you go about measuring them? You know, what are the things you see are hurdles or challenges you have to overcome in order to be successful within the world that you're in?
Yeah, definitely. I think I would basically go back to data point at this stage, because like we basically connect or integrate with the existing ERP systems, like mentioned, and the merchandise management systems. So the processes are automated and tailored to the customer's individual needs. So they can actually do real-time data tracking. The automated fulfillment process starts right with the placing of the order in the online shop, and then it's processed until the order is shipped and tracked to the customer. So that, in that sense, the real-time stock updates, the inventory stock updates, and shipment tracking is quite transparent in our dashboards. And basically the customers can track the deliveries or parcels that go out. So they have a very transparent KPI for basically checking their shipments, how many shipments they have, the orders, how much of them are delivered on time, and like basically do an automatic return. They can get the data for the returns in their from their shipment the data, and basically if they want to expand internationally, the dashboard or the transparency of the dashboard helps them give a 360 customer satisfaction overview, and we offer a scalable fulfillment solution for the online merchants by providing access to an international logistics network. So I would say it works quite well when a customer or an e-commerce merchant wants to have the competitive advantage and complete the fulfillment via the web app.
Yeah, no, got you. So in a nutshell, then, what would be for me to understand a bit more about your world in terms of measuring stuff? What would be some of the generic kind of KPIs that you would measure for both yourself in terms of the service SLA, if you like, service level, and for the customer?
Delivery times. So that would be one of the things. The percentage of the parcels that go out at the same day. So the capacity of the parcels that they can send out at the same day. For like shipment tracking or deliveries that we receive can be sort of like the KPIs for the online merchants to check through the tool.
Yeah, sure. And is your solution global? Like, I mean, are there any restrictions at all? Is it can you do anything effectively?
Yeah, I mean, it's like there's also an operational side where the fulfillment services. So basically the application, the customer dashboard is a global solution, can be used depending on the fulfillment centers that we have. We have the fulfillment centers in Europe, in Germany and Austria, also in the UK. So we are basically tackling the customers who want to, who are selling in Germany but want to fulfill in UK, or vice versa, who are UK customers that want to fulfill in Europe, in Germany and other countries. And we will be expanding in Q3 to France and Netherlands. So that's also that we will be having fulfillment centers in those countries. And I think it's like the software itself is universal, but it also depends for the fulfillment centers operationally where we are.
Yeah, absolutely, makes sense. So what about some tips and tricks when it comes to fulfillment?
So yeah, happily. So I think for fulfillment, it's important to understand and weighing up which suits like your business as a e-commerce merchant, and you need to really look into detail on comparing the real costs, like outsourcing it or in-housing it, and basically comparing the service providers out there as well. Because it needs a good technical setup, and it needs a good integration with the shop systems, and it needs an adjustment in every case. So you need to pay really good attention to market regulations for different products and different product categories. So if, let's say, you are selling a bio product, you need to look at the regulations of that and basically store it in a warehouse that has certificates for those products. So it's a topic that needs to be taken really seriously, and like also have an expert opinion from the industry. So there are different professional equipments for the warehouses that they can work efficiently, and basically you need to think of all the blockers for storing your SKUs, like for storing your goods, and also packaging and labeling using barcodes to ensure the quality of the fulfillment, having a real-time inventory to basically avoid your stuck out in the e-commerce shop, and enabling maybe is one of the things. Is I said packaging, so it's also building that brand reputation and using the right materials, maybe sustainable materials also, or branded materials, and using packaging as a marketing tool is also a good sort of trick, I think,
Yeah.
for e-commerce merchants. And having flexible shipping partners and having a flexibility around that. So basically not being bound to one single warehouse solution, or one single warehouse enables you to fulfill quicker if you're selling cross-border, or if you're selling in different locations in one country. So I think that flexibility is quite important. And like basically it's a, like, if you look overall, it's a cycle. So if you ensure that the customer is also happy with the last step of the fulfillment, or last step of their purchase, then they will basically come back. So it's basically seeing this
Yeah.
process as part of the customer experience that you're creating for your consumers.
100%. It's a massive part of it, isn't it? Because I go all the way, buy the goods, I want to get them. And if you don't get them, that's the worst possible scenario, isn't it?
Yeah.
All that great experience they had. I mean, you mentioned clearly there's outsourcing and then there's in-housing, as you called it, or an in-house operation or whatever. So is there, from your experience, a particular almost cutoff where a brand would be much more likely to get their value back on outsourcing versus not?
I think outsourcing or in-house production is mainly seen in enterprise level customers. So it's basically having the bandwidth of like having an own ERP system, and then on like maybe having a warehouse management system. So it's basically on an enterprise discussion, I would say. For small and medium companies, it's more service provider comparison, and basically if they're especially Amazon sellers using the Amazon fulfillment networks and so on, but that like might not have all the flexibilities that we mentioned as well. So it's a like pro con list basically on that side for especially small and medium businesses.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, as a smaller, as a mid-tier business, is it typical that those kind of brands won't want to try and handle everything themselves in-house, and
Not
therefore,
really. Yeah, not
yeah,
really, because it's a
yeah,
huge operation.
yeah, it sounds like it, especially if the goods are complicated in any way, right? Or they
Yeah.
have, like you said, restrictions or legal stuff involved with it. And I know you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but if you were to sort of top line it, what sort of verticals do you see get tremendous value out of service providers like Bird and other fulfillment providers like that?
So basically, I would say the companies, the mid-tiered companies that are very precise, like, that are doing cross-border sales,
Yeah,
that are basically very precise on their company brand reputation, that want to fulfill the customer with through a good sort of like shipping options, and also
yeah,
within Europe, I would say it's crucial to have different locations to basically provide shipping options to your consumers. So
sure.
I think, yeah, overall the customers who need more flexibility, who are using shop systems but do not have a fulfillment service yet, or are not happy with the quality of the fulfillment service,
Yeah,
that's basically where we tap
sure.
into.
Okay. And it's so, in terms of an actual type of product being sold, there's no one type of brand that is doing, say, fashion compared to homeware that would be
Mhm.
more appropriate to be looking at?
Yeah,
this
that's a that's a interesting topic. So there are some limitations for basically shipments and storages or storing the goods. So, for
Yeah,
example, we do not do deep frozen goods at the moment,
yeah,
or basically cooling or
yeah,
shipment. Cooled shipment is not a
yeah,
also a preferable
yeah,
profile, or like
yeah.
basically restricted from the shipping perspective and the
Sure.
storage perspective.
Yeah,
But other than that, I think like non-perishable foods, cosmetics, healthcare,
yeah,
um
yeah,
I think these are the things that we focus on. And also we have some fashion customers,
mm,
and it depends on the sort of SKU numbers as well, whether it makes sense too. But
mhm,
we take over like fashion and sports customers. We do not do also oversized products. Maybe that's worth also
yeah,
mentioning. That's
yeah,
also a
yeah,
different
yeah.
type of category that is in the
Mhm,
fulfillment sector.
mhm,
So we do packages and
yeah.
deliveries with packages.
Sure. No, it makes sense. That's great. So thanks so much for that. That was really, really interesting. If any guys out there want to kind of talk to you about this in a bit more detail, what would you say was the best way for them to get hold of you?
So basically, they can go on our website, getbyrd.com. It's
Sure.
BYRD,
Yeah.
and our Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn pages as well.
Sure.
Um, I have we have set up a partnership page. Any partners interested
Mhm.
in getting in touch on having a fulfillment service provider as a partner, feel free to reach out. We have a
Mhm.
very quickly filled form on our website that
Sure.
you can see on the partnership page.
Mhm.
And otherwise, personally, happy to have a chat on LinkedIn as well,
Mhm.
if anyone interested to speak.
Excellent. So just to check then, so it's getbird.com, which is obviously get, and then byrd.com, and then
Correct.
the usual sort of social areas. And then interesting about the partnerships, obviously, is if there's going to be brands out there that know what sort of ecosystem they're currently working with, then that might well provide a need to flag up partners, I think, as well to your good self in terms of that ecosystem side of things. So that's a great thing to add in there, I think, because I find that from partnerships, it's very important that we keep abreast of all the different solutions and providers out there that brands need us to integrate with or work with. So that's great to mention that, I think. So just to finish off, I love to ask my thought leaders this question. If there's one thing that you'd love our listeners to take away with from today's chat, what would you love to tell them?
So to summarize everything, I would
Yeah.
say, when it comes to choosing the right fulfillment partner or fulfillment
Hmm.
provider, you need to the e-commerce merchants need to make sure what fits the best for them. Whether you do cross-border sales or want more bespoke service with your packaging or pricing,
Yeah.
you need to find a solution that can be as flexible. Um, this is why basically Bird exists. We want to make
Yeah.
sure that e-commerce shops and retailers to outsource the business in just few
Mm.
steps, as quick as and easy as possible, so that they can focus what's really important for them and their brand.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Well, that was great. Thank you so much, Sinem. Thank you, everyone, for listening as well. It's been really interesting. It just remains for me to say that if you haven't done so already, please do feel free to register for these podcasts on segmentify.com/podcast. And you'll get all the new ones that come out and all the ones that are already been announced and published that you may not have heard so far. And the other thing to say is that if you have any questions or any topics in particular you want us to try and cover, or indeed if you want to be involved in the show at all, please do email me anytime at phil@segmentify.com. But it just remains me to say thank you so much, Sinem, again, and we look forward to speaking to you all again soon.
Thank you, Phil. It was great to be
Thank
here.
you.
Put us to the test and let us prove we can drive more revenue for you. Sign up for a completely free proof of concept or split test against your current provider, set up and optimized by our team within a few days at segmentify.com/demo.